Hi, my name's Dr. Katherine and this is my trusty sidekick Delilah. And today we're going to be talking to you about dog ear infections. We're going to be talking about how to tell whether your dog has an ear infection, what to do if your dog has an ear infection, including why you should be avoiding some of the therapies recommended on the internet, and also how to help prevent a recurrence of the ear infections. So let's get started. So let's chat a little bit about the kind of symptoms that you might expect to see if your dog has an ear infection. A lot of these are probably very familiar to you already. We might see some red or brownish kind of discharge from the ears. The ears might get really stinky. Often it smells kind of sweet and yeasty. You'll notice some redness, sometimes even swelling. And in fact, if the whole ear looks like it's swollen up, so it looks like a big kind of puffy pillow, then it might be that your dog has an oral hematoma. That is when they've been scratching a lot of the time, or if somehow one of the blood vessels in the ear has been punctured, then the whole cavity can fill up with blood. And actually that's something that Delilah had a few years ago and we had to do surgery for, which is why she has that funny bandage on her head. If your dog's ear has swollen up like that, that definitely need treatment by a veterinarian. So with all of these conditions, with all of these symptoms, please go chat to your vet, but particularly for the oral hematoma, because it's definitely unlikely to resolve properly by itself. You might also see black discharge or a yellow or white kind of discharge, depending on what the cause of the infection and condition is. Dogs often also rub their ears and they scratch their head on the furniture because their ears are so painful and irritated and itchy. If you're noticing that your dog has any unusual eye movements or might even be walking around in circles, that can actually be a symptom of deeper inner ear infection. So definitely something to chat to your veterinarian about. So a lot of different things can cause ear infections. Maybe your dog has contracted some ear mites from another animal. Ear mites are contagious between dogs and cats. Maybe they've been swimming and they've had excessively wet ears and come home with a bit of infection from that swim. But for some dogs, unfortunately, it can be a bit more of a chronic condition because they have underlying what we call predisposing factors. So they might have pendulous or floppy ears like we see in a lot of breeds, such as the classic Basset Hound look. They might have hormonal imbalances. Sometimes different disease conditions can predispose them to having ear infections. Or like Delilah, unfortunately, they might have underlying allergies. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about dog allergies, please be sure to check out my video on all about how to diagnose and treat dog allergies. So let's get down to treatments. As I mentioned earlier, it's really important to assess what the underlying cause of the ear infection is so that we can make sure that we're really targeting that infection with the right products. We want to make sure that we're stopping any pain that is present. We want to make sure that we're clearing up the infection, and we want to make sure that we're supporting that ear so that the body can help clear the infection itself and hopefully prevent further ear infections from recurring in the future. There are two reasons why I strongly recommend not putting anything down your dog's ear canal without first consulting with your vet. Number one is that we don't want to do more harm than good. We don't want to damage the already really red and inflamed and irritated skin, and we also don't want to damage their eardrums. That's one reason. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to properly clean ears and how to be confident that you're not going to be doing more harm than good. And number two, we want to make sure that what you're putting down there is actually going to be effective. We want to make sure that it's killing any yeast, bacteria, mites that are present, and also helping to support normal conditions in the ear canal to help the body fight the infection itself. Firstly, I'm going to address all of the different types of ear treatments you hear about on the internet. First one is apple cider vinegar. And yes, apple cider vinegar can be really good at removing dirt and debris from the ear canal, and it can also help to treat some bacteria and yeast infections. But if your dog truly has an infected ear, then that ear is going to be really red and inflamed, and applying the acid to it will actually be really painful. So I don't recommend using apple cider vinegar unless your veterinarian specifically recommends that. The other products that you might be hearing about are things like calendula and coconut oil. I'm personally a big fan of coconut oil. I love to use it as a moisturizer on my skin, for example, but I don't recommend putting anything down your dog's ear canal without chatting to your vet. Ask your vet, do you think that coconut oil is a good idea? Vet, do you think that calendula is a good idea? If your dog has those pendulous ears that I spoke about, so the floppy kind of puppy dog ears, then we want to be extra diligent about making sure those ears are kept nice and dry. Sometimes your veterinarian might recommend kind of pinning the ears up occasionally. Obviously we don't want to be doing that too tightly. We don't want to be constricting blood flow, but that can be a really good way of kind of airing out the ear. If your dog is swimming regularly and you're noticing that after a swim they'll wind up with an ear infection a couple of days later, then we want to make sure that we are drying out the ear canal as quickly as possible. A product I like to use for that is something called Malacetic Otic Cleaner. There are a couple of different versions of this, but this one is readily available on Amazon, for example. And this doesn't necessarily treat the infection itself, but it does help to clean out that ear canal and also dry it out. And as we all know, moisture does help to breed infection. I'm not being paid by these guys, but this is a really good product. Let me repeat though, please don't put anything down your dog's ears without first consulting with your veterinarian, because we want to make sure we're not doing more harm than good. Some other treatments that might be discussed with your veterinarian are removing the ear mites with some specific medication for ear mites. We might need to be putting an ointment down there to clear the bacteria or the yeast. And of course, we want to make sure that we're addressing any underlying imbalances. So if they have a disease, we want to be making our best effort to treat that disease. If they have allergies, we want to be treating the allergies as well and hopefully reducing those symptoms. So on the topic of medicating ears and making sure that we're not doing any more harm than good, I want to delve a little bit deeper into the anatomy of the ear canal so you can understand why it's really important not to put products down without first consulting your veterinarian, and to make sure that if and when you are medicating the ears, when you are putting products in that ear canal, you're doing it properly. So let's have a little anatomy lesson. Dogs have the same kind of ear canal as us, as humans, but they're shaped a little bit differently, which is why we need to treat them differently. The ear canal, as you can see from this picture, is a bit more of an L shape. So with people, our ear canals pretty much just go straight across horizontally, but with dogs, they go down and then across. So when we're medicating the ear, we want to make sure that we're really getting down deep into the canal and treating all of the infection present, not just in that first downward section, but also in that horizontal bit as well. The other thing you'll see from this diagram is that there is an eardrum at the end of the canal, and eardrums unfortunately can even develop little perforations or holes on the surface as a result of the infection. If that's the case, then sometimes putting the medication down into the ear canal can make the medication seep into deeper sections of the middle and inner ear and actually cause some really bad symptoms in dogs. It can cause neurological damage and inner ear damage, and not something we want to be dealing with. So we want to make sure that we're going to the vet's examining the ear canal to rule out any damage to that eardrum so that we're confident that it's safe and okay to medicate. I'm going to show you how to apply some medication now. I will forewarn you, Delilah really hates having her ears meddled with, but hopefully that's a really great real-life demonstration for you. I'm sure a lot of you guys back home also have dogs who hate having their ears medicated. So firstly, what I'm doing is kind of gently holding her ear and pulling it upwards a little bit to try and kind of straighten that ear canal out. As I mentioned earlier, the ear canal goes down and then inwards horizontally. So if we're trying to stretch it out a little bit to help the medication go all the way deep into the cavity. With this particular one, I'm going to be squelching it around. You can hear squelch, 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 squelch. And the reason being is that's going to help dislodge the debris. I'm just doing that very gently. Often with dogs that have ear infections, their ears are really tender, so we want to be doing everything nice and gently. All right, and now I'm going to let her shake all of that out. She's definitely ready to shake it out. And when dogs shake like that, it's actually also helping to dislodge the debris. And now I'm just going to take a cotton wool ball. Please do not put anything down the ear canal. Don't use Q-tips, for example, because that can help push bacteria and yeast and infection further deeper down into the ear canal. But this I'm just going to be using superficially to wipe away any of that excessive wetness, because I don't want it getting on my furniture. Alright, so there we have it. We've covered how to tell whether your dog has an ear infection, how to treat ear infections, and also hopefully how to prevent them from recurring in the future. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. We're going to be uploading new videos every week. Alright, Delilah is definitely done. You've had a lot of filming to do. Say bye everyone. Bye Delilah. Alright, you can go now.